Hello, welcome back to World Hoppers, the collaborative YouTube channel that's all about the charities.
Mm.
Today, we have some of our friends here to talk about some unpopular opinions. We're doing the Unpopular Opinions 2.0 that was created by Elle, the creator of World Hoppers. So it's all full circle creation.
Woot woot. Yeah, let's talk about some crap we don't like.
Let's do it.
I have the things up. So the first one, a genre great. We don't get the hype for. I'm gonna just say Mistborn because I thought it was fine, and I basically
Because you
DNF'd.
liked book one, right?
I
And
did.
then
I
book two
really,
was okay. And then
yeah.
book three.
I basically DNF'd. I mean, essentially. With how heavily I skim read the last like 20%. I had to go look at a synopsis online because I was like, I know I missed stuff. And then I saw the stuff I missed and I was like, okay, yeah, I don't care. So definitely that one for me.
Okay, I'll go next. I know a lot of people agree/disagree with me, but I'm gonna go with Fourth Wing for Romantasy because
Uh,
unlike you guys, I quite enjoyed it, right? Like, I don't think it was terrible, but like, is it the best thing ever written? No, it's not. And I don't get the hype for it. Like, it literally blew up in a way that I'm like,
it was
what
crazy.
happened? It was
I had
crazy.
people at my job who like are, readers, but like, they're not crazy booktube
Yeah.
or bookstagram,
Yeah,
booktalk
and I
readers.
think like,
Being
is
like,
it much
Fourth Wing, oh my
better?
God.
Yeah, is it much better than like ACOTAR and Throne of Glass and all these other books that like for us blew up, but like
Yeah.
no, you know? That's why I don't get it.
ACOTAR is definitely better. At least
It
the
really
original
is.
trilogy. A Court of Silver Flames can go and choke, but
It really is.
What's yours,
oh
Ranger?
god.
I think I know what you're
There's
gonna
so
say,
many.
but let's see.
I have so many. Look at you.
Well, because I've read so many of
Well,
the
'cause yeah,
greats at this point.
yeah,
I've
I
read
was
the
gonna say,
entire. I've read Wheel of Time. I've read Malazan. I've
yeah.
read Realm of the Elderlings. I've read Cosmere.
Oops.
I'd say because I'll save the other one for later. So I'll say Malazan for this one,
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Ooh.
and that's because it's not as original as people try to make it seem. Like, yes, maybe doing all the philosophizing and stuff. If you're really into that, sure, whatever. For me, it felt circular and like way too much, but it's all based on like their Dungeons and Dragons campaign. So like even the world building stuff, when you read like Gardens of the Moon, one for one, there's the Tista Andi that have their floating castle fortress, which are literally the Shatter Kai, which fly around in floating castle fortresses. So like literally there's one for one from the world building to Dungeons and Dragons, where I'm just like, it's not like he made up
Yeah.
so many amazing. It's like, okay, well, he took Dungeons and Dragons and then added like anthropological history to it,
Yeah.
but like the core foundation. And so that's the part that I always just have to roll my eyes because people are like, his world building is just so unique. I'm like, is it? I mean, I've read all 10 books.
Is it?
I mean, the unique
Yeah.
part is maybe the weird, like, symbiotic anemone that lives in the dead woman's hoo-ha that helps her feel sex again.
Oh my
I was
god.
thinking about that, and every time you bring it up, I'm like, what the
What?
oh, no, thank you.
And she can only be satisfied by Ublala Pung, who's so well endowed that no one else can handle him. They use him like a toy. Yeah.
Oh.
That's
Oh my god,
Malazan
what
too.
is going on in this book?
Yeah, dude.
But it's all
like,
about
when I hear
compassion.
people talk
Oh, okay.
generally about Malazan, and then I hear like details, I'm like, this is not matching up with what like people are like, oh, it's this and that and the other thing. And then I hear details about stuff, and I'm like, huh?
What? What happened there?
It doesn't seem to add up. This doesn't match. I was gonna say you have because you force yourself to finish all these things.
I know, I could never.
Like, because I've done like try a chapter of like Wheel of Time. I haven't even bothered with Malazan. I've read excerpts from like random stuff of it, but like I've done that kind of thing where I'm like, no. But like I can't make myself read them to like have an actual opinion.
Yeah, because I've read all 10 books of Malazan. I've read all 14
Yeah.
books of Wheel of Time. I've read all 16 books of Realm of the Elderlings. I've read all
That's
39
crazy.
books of Drizzt. Like,
Oh. Did you okay, question. I do have the first Wheel of Time. Do you think it's worth even starting it? Because I will
I
unlove
actually
that
quite
bitch.
like Wheel of Time. Like, it's not my
Okay,
favorite
good.
thing ever. I don't think it's like the most amazing ever, but like especially the first couple books, and especially book one, are very Lord of the Rings coded, and it's like
Okay.
his homage. So
Mhm.
like you could try it. I'd say if you try the first two books and you're not into it, it doesn't get better. Like that kind of
Okay.
gives you a good
It
sample
gets
because
worse for a little bit, doesn't it? There's like the
I mean there's the
slog as
slog
well.
for like 7 to 9 or something like that, which is just very slow and nothing happens and like could have been
Um,
heavily edited. But like
mm,
it's still
No
not
thanks.
it doesn't elicit visceral emotions like some of the other greats do, and it was fun
Yeah.
enough, especially for the first 4 or 5 books, but, like, that wasn't as bad pushing through.
For you.
Yeah.
For you, yes, Roger. You
I would
definitely
not have
pushed through.
pushed
Well, it's what started me with audiobooks because I never used to listen to audiobooks until Wheel of Time, and Wheel of Time was what drove me to get audiobooks because I was
Oh,
like, "I need to be able to
to get
speed
through
through
this.
some of this process."
Oh, Lord. That is too funny. I love it. All right. Next question. An adaptation you wish was never made. I'm like, I
Do you
don't
have one?
know. I don't
Rings
know
of
if I
Power.
do. Oh,
I
yeah,
have
but
one.
I've never read Lord of the Rings. I've
Right.
watched the movies, like the original trilogy, but like, I mean, I think Rings of Power sucked. It's like really, really bad.
I didn't watch
Like,
that.
I guess maybe that one, yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you know what? I had another one for this, but I just thought of something else. Uh, what's the name of that Cassandra Clare, Shadowhunters?
Oh,
I see
yeah.
that that's how I found it first, and I actually kind of
The
liked that
show?
show. Yeah.
Oh my God, Roger, it's awful.
It's better than the books.
No, I honestly, I read the okay, I should say I read the books when I was, like, a lot younger, right? So it's like I read it when I
Yeah,
was meant to read it, and I enjoyed
yeah.
for what it was, but that show is just so corny, like, so
Yeah, I mean, it's
corny.
the peak of CW cheese
Yeah.
melodrama.
No, it totally is, and I just thought of that, and I'm like, "You know what? That's the one I'm gonna say," because I tried, like, and then it just went so far off the cliff that I was like, "Nope, nope."
Oh,
See,
Lord.
because I watched the show and then I went back and I read the books, and I was happy that I'd watched the show first because then I didn't have to sit with hundreds and hundreds of pages of them thinking that they're siblings and
Yeah,
be like,
that
"Oh, but
Oh,
he's
that
still
yeah.
first
kind of
book is like
hot." Like, at least I already knew.
yeah,
So, like,
Yeah.
that I think I might have stopped the books otherwise because I would have been like, "What is this? Why are we
yeah,
doing incest? Okay, sure."
I
Yeah.
guess.
I read the first book, I think, years ago, and I think it's at the end of the first book that it's, like, revealed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
The
I was like, "What the heck?" It
the
just went
other
to
Because then
series,
they
the
like try to
Clockwork
hide it for a while
Princess,
because it's like, oh, but we're still like drawn to each other, and like I know he's my brother, but like I
yeah.
can't, and I'm like,
so
oh,
gross.
I
okay.
shan't.
Sean, I can't.
Um, Clockwork Princess is actually a lot better, like the
Yeah,
series.
the
The
Infernal
second, I
Devices is
don't
pretty good.
Did you read that one?
Yeah, I read everything except for the newest one. I haven't read the Last Hours, which is like the sequel
The
trilogy
Chain
to
of Gold
Infernal
one, is that the
Devices.
one?
Yeah,
I
it's one
didn't
that
read
You
follows
that
the
could
one
read
either.
it to
kids.
Shadowhunters, right?
Huh?
Like, if I just wanted to read Infernal Devices?
No,
Yeah,
you
you
could
could.
skip Mortal Instruments because it
Yeah, you could
happens
totally do
earlier.
that because so much better.
Cool. I don't know if I will ever, but I don't
Yeah.
know.
I think
Well, you
Elle's
could.
reading it pretty soon
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
for her steampunky thing that she's
Oh, yeah,
doing.
yeah, 'cause it is. I forget that.
It is kind of steampunk, you're right. I read it
Yeah.
so long ago. Maybe
Yeah,
I'll
because that's like
reread it,
little
see if I
clockwork
like it.
automaton things.
Yeah. It was good. Anyway, what else do you
What
guys have?
what's
I
yours,
mean, for me,
Robert?
it would also probably be Rings of Power. I was giving it the benefit of the doubt for season one, and then we went
Ow!
back, and then we went back.
So
No,
bad!
this is the part. This is the part when we started falling off because then we rewatched season one to watch season two, and like rewatching season one took us so long because we were just like, I would rather watch almost anything else,
Anything.
and like I'm
You'd
not
rather
usually
watch
that
paint dry.
picky. I'm not like I like season 8 of Game of Thrones, especially when you watch the whole series leading up to it, because then it doesn't
Mhm.
feel as abrupt, like if you don't
Mhm.
watch it in a
Yeah.
vacuum. So like I can forgive things that other people get really viscerally pissed off about. But like
Yeah.
Rings of Power, my good lord, I would never rewatch any of it. I might still try season 3, but I would never go back and because we like to rewatch things to get ready for the next
Yeah.
season. And this is probably one of the only shows I would never want to do that to myself.
It was just so badly like, I don't even know the source material or anything, so, like, none of my qualms with it were like, "It's different," or
Well,
"They
everybody hates
messed with the
Galadriel because they're like,
characters."
where did she go? Because Galadriel is such
Yeah,
a like badass, especially the one that you know with Kate Blanchett or whatever. Like
yeah.
to go from
I
her
just
from like to like the angsty, but she's still like the oldest elf there because she's lived for like
dude, the
4,000 years by the
dialogue
time it starts.
It was just the dialogue, the acting, the
The
CGI
slow-mo
sometimes,
horse scenes.
the set design, like, mostly the dialogue where I was like, "What are we doing?" This is not good at all.
And it's so expensive. Isn't it like the most expensive TV show that
I
has
think
ever been
so,
produced?
yeah. What a
That's
waste of
crazy. I haven't
money.
watched it.
Because they were spending like tens of millions per episode.
Yeah, yeah. No
On
bueno.
what? Who knows?
I don't know.
They should have spent tens of millions getting the rights to the actual Silmarillion instead of trying to doing it from the appendices. When I heard that, I
Yeah.
was like, what do you mean you're going to try to do it from the appendices? That's all we have the
Appendices?
rights for. Then why are you making a show?
Yeah, stop right there. No mas, please. Yeah, it's not good. All right, a book or series you have to fight back your inner snob because you kind of think people just don't get it.
I think we
they
have the
didn't read it
same
right.
answer for this, Joshana, maybe.
I don't know what mine is. I'm trying to think.
Okay, I'm gonna say Annie Bot because it's the
Oh,
only
yes!
book that I
Yes!
think people read it and I'm like, you just don't get it.
Yeah,
The only book ever that I've ever thought that. I'm like,
that's a good one.
you
That's
just
a
don't
very
get
good one.
it, you know?
Yeah. I like to the point where I'm gonna make a video talking about people
Yeah.
not getting it.
They don't get it, Roger. It's not it's the thing is, I think this is all boils down to like mismarketing of this book
Yeah,
because they labeled it as sci-fi and it's not. It's more like literary sci-fi, where like the
yeah.
sci-fi element is like
It's very
there
minimal and like not
to
important.
create the story, but it's not important to the story.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
And people are
And
like
even
upset that it's not like deep into the sci-fi element enough.
yes.
And so they think it's bad.
But it was all supposed to be like an allegory for like domestic abuse, anyways,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. People don't get that, Roger, I guess.
Because I only know
Yeah.
about it from Joshana talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
We understood it correctly, Roger.
You understood the assignment, Roger.
What's yours, Roger?
I guess just since we're doing unpopular opinions, I'll go for Wind and Truth, which is the newest Stormlight book.
Oh, I
Because there's a
heard
lot of
that's
people,
getting kind of flack.
including Elle, who feel
Cough,
like
cough.
it has had such a dramatic shift in like the tone and like it's completely different from any book that he's ever written. And I'm like, okay, well, as somebody who just spent the last 3 years hosting a read along for Cosmere and rereading the entire thing, and I read all of the Stormlight books leading up, it's not that different. I think there are aspects where he's leaning into like the superhero camp a little bit more than he used to, but it's not like all of a sudden he's
Drastic.
a completely different author who uses completely different, like the fact that people sit here and are like, he uses more modern language in this fantasy world, and I'm like, okay, but when was it ever set up that this is medieval England, that he had to stick to some code of
Yeah.
you have to say certain words, and if you use
What
other
art
words,
thou?
especially in this world when we already know that people can hop around worlds, and so there's been different worlds at different levels of technology throughout the history, and like the words that are being brought in by a specific character usually. So I'm just like, okay. And then people, it's just like, it's not that different. It's really not. And like, if you don't like that it is shifting to be a more epic, even more POVs, a little bit less intimate with some of the mental health rep, and it's going more superhero, fine.
Yeah.
But for us to be out here
different.
being like, his writing has drastically decreased in quality, I'm like, well, one, his writing was never what you were here for. Like, it's not exactly like it's the most ornate.
I agree.
He's not Jandy Nelson, like writing like cool metaphors. And it's not that different. It's not that different. I don't know why people are like, all of a sudden, this is the book.
That it like switched.
Yeah, and like it's been very divisive. I've seen so many people being like,
Yeah,
I'm done with the Cosmere forever. And I'm like, well, that's fine.
I saw,
If you're
it's funny you're talking about this.
Like, if people's reading tastes change, that's cool. Like, if you like more ornate writing and you like having to sit there in the themes, like, then Sanderson's not going to be the writer for you, but he never was that kind of writer. It's not like he changed.
Yeah.
And I just get annoyed that people aren't necessarily having that introspection of like, I've changed and this doesn't really go with what I like anymore.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
But they act like personally offended, like he did something to them.
I just watched a video yesterday about this. Like I don't even watch this person. I was just randomly. I forget his name anyway, but he was saying like, I'm done with Brandon Sanderson. And I'm like, I wonder why. Like I thought it was like some sort of controversy or whatever. But he was basically
It was
talking about
just
what you just said, basically saying like that his writing has fallen off and blah blah blah, like all
But
that
it
stuff.
hasn't. It's the same.
Yeah,
It's the
I
same. It's
agree.
just more because obviously this is the longest book ever. It's like 1,340 pages or
I feel
something
like that's
of
probably what
scenes.
it is. It's like overload of it.
Hmm.
It's like more of, like you said, it's more of how he writes. And so there's probably people realizing like, wait, I don't actually like this that much.
Yeah,
That and then I think a
yeah,
lot of people were reading stuff. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
but when you read 7 or 8,000 pages from an author in like 6 months,
yeah,
then certain aspects that you normally might gloss over are going to stick out to you more eventually because it's just
Yeah.
sheer volume.
The nature of it.
hmm,
Yeah.
But like he
100%.
hasn't done anything like cringeworthy. Like I thought Sanderson responded very nicely to the people that don't appreciate having a gay character on page. He like doubled down and wrote like a response being like, no, this was the story I always wanted to tell. And
Yeah.
it's how I explore different perspectives that are different from my own. I enjoy writing that in my stories. And it's not because I'm pressured or woke. It's because I wanted to tell that story. So I'm like,
Yeah.
good for
hmm,
you.
Yeah.
yeah,
You
that
may
is
still be
good.
Mormon and tied to the church, but at least the words that come out of your own mouth,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can stand behind.
I
yeah.
wanted to do this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that it's probably just like it's one of those things too where he's an author that like has less and less editing because he doesn't have to because people will buy it no matter what. I mean, it's like Sarah J.
Yeah.
Maas. The books are
Hmm.
getting bigger and longer, and I think it makes things stand out a little bit more that you might not like, but that like could be
Well, his response
overlooked if
was
there's
funny.
more
He's like, I
editing.
get edited more than ever, but some of the edits that they tell me I just don't take.
Yeah, I mean, and he can,
Oh,
right? He can write whatever he wants, and
yeah, it's gonna
it's
sell.
like it's gonna sell.
Because
Yeah,
that
at
was
the
my
end of the
favorite
day,
part. He's like, no, I get edited more than I ever did, but sometimes there's things that are the story that I
I
wanted
just
to
choose
tell, and
not
I
to.
just do it.
Yeah,
and that's his choice, right? He's the one writing the books.
yeah, and there's still gonna be fans. I
But
think
it's
he'll
not
be
like
fine.
it's that
Yeah.
different. Yes, if you liked sitting in Kaladin's moping for hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of pages about
Mm.
his depression and having the cyclical, which is realistic but not that fun to read,
Hmm.
of having the
Very
like he's better, then he's not better, then he's better, then he's not better. It doesn't do that as much. It's much more like fist pumpy, like Superman,
Oh yeah,
and that is
Yeah.
that's
definitely the
probably what
direction that
it
he's
is.
going. And if you don't
Yeah.
like that, that's fine. But
Well,
it's
see,
not like
that's
it's
now that
different.
you're telling me this, it makes me want to read it even more because I like that stuff.
Yeah.
But I only read The Way of Kings, which I loved. I thought it was really well done. But just the fact that there's like so much to read, it
Well,
like has put me off.
you have 7 or 8 years, I think, right? Because I don't think the next Stormlight book is coming until like 2030 something.
Holy
Okay, yeah. So
crap!
see, that's a good idea.
Are we even gonna
This is
be
a good
there?
time for me to like read it
I know. I was
because,
realizing I was like, I'm gonna be in my 40s by the time the next book comes out.
jeez.
Well, yeah, I will be pushing 50. Wild. God, so old.
Don't think about it. Don't think about
No.
it.
All right. This one, I don't know. Okay, a book or series you're tired of everyone hating on.
Maybe I should have said Wind and Truth for this. Shit,
I get,
sorry.
yeah, maybe. I don't know if I have one.
Okay, I have an unpopular opinion, and I think
Do
you
it.
guys are going to disagree with me.
Do it.
I'm
Let's
going
fight
to
in the street.
say, what?
Let's fight in the street.
Oh, let's fight in the streets. I'm going to say Twilight. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. Here is my argument.
I'm not
I
gonna fight with you. I
know
liked it when I read it when I was a teenager. I've never wanted
exactly.
to reread
Like,
it.
right. Twilight is what it is, right? It was selling at the time. It made a lot of people want to read it. And I just hate that people love to hate on things that are made for like primarily a female audience. Like,
Yeah.
it's the same thing that goes back to like ACOTAR, Throne of Glass, but all this stuff. Like, is it the best like literary thing? But it's
No.
not. But it is. It's fun for what it is. It's like a vampire fun, like angsty,
Easily
like
digestible and like
easily
entertaining.
digestible. You're in a girl's like a teenager's mind. Like, if you're 30 years old, yeah, it's gonna be like, oh, I can't stand her. Like, but it's like it's not for you. And I just
Yeah.
hate that people love to hate on it. Like, every once in a while, I'll see, like, one of those, like, react videos or, like, people talking about this, like, work of art or whatever, and they're, like, going on and on and on about how, like, Twilight is so bad, and I'm like, "Oh, people, please, like, find something else to hate on."
They want
I
that. Just go read When the Moon Hatched. Jesus Christ.
when
Oh, yeah, I have to read that.
I think I was 25 when I read Twilight because I had never read it. And I was
Mhm.
older when it came out, anyways. I wasn't like a preteen. I don't know how old I was, but
Yeah.
I don't remember when it came out. But I read Hunger Games and I was like obsessed. Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. Everybody read it. And I worked at a Hollister at the time. I was like an assistant manager. And I was telling all the girls that worked there, like, you got to read The Hunger Games. And they would all talk about Twilight. And I was like,
Mhm.
it seems like hot garbage. And they're like, you can't say that. You've never read it. So I was like, fine. So I went and read the whole series.
You're like, it's hot garbage.
And then I was like, it's garbage. It's not
Book one came out in 2005.
Oh, okay, yeah, I graduated from high school already.
Yeah,
I was like, it's bad. Like the writing is bad, but I read through it pretty dang quickly because
it's
like
easy.
it's easily
But
digestible.
that's the
and it was
thing too. Like me and my
entertaining. It
husband
was
talk
fun.
about this stuff kind of like he doesn't really read, but we talk about this in movies, right? There are
Yeah.
movies, and then there are movies. Like there's movies that you watch because it's fun and stupid, right? Like, and then there are movies that win Oscars, right? So it's
Yeah.
like it's different. Sometimes you just want stupid fun, and that's
Yeah.
what it is.
That's true. That is true. I do rewatch the Twilight movies all the time. Even
Those
though
are fun too.
they're also hot garbage, kind of.
Right, but it's like sometimes you
they're
just
fun.
want to. Like just the cinematic, like the way that they filmed it and the filters in those movies, like
Yeah.
it cracks me up every time. I'm like, everyone's blue, or like
Everyone is shit, and the acting is like, come on.
yeah, it's
what are you
great.
doing
It's
here?
great.
I love that both of them went on to like do these like Oscar worthy roles and stuff
Right.
and like deeply important movies and things and that they came from freaking Twilight.
I know that scene where she like walks in the room and he's like, I love that scene.
Oh, when the fan is like blowing.
Yeah.
And he's like,
it's so bad.
it is
so funny. They're nostalgic, you know?
and they are for sure.
I can't really think of like a specific one that I'm tired of everyone hating on because I don't know.
I think you've just accepted that you have the unpopular opinion in almost everything because you don't really like any of the popular
I know. I was
stuff.
gonna say you're the one that hates on things.
Yes, but I just haven't read them because I try and then I'm like, no.
Pass.
And like people hating on like ACOTAR and stuff, like or Throne of Glass. I mean, I don't feel any kind of particular way about it, I guess. Because even Throne of Glass, like I do enjoy. I'm like, yeah, there's problems. Like there's several problems.
It's like at least she developed a real relationship, especially in Math. That's like peak romanticy for me. And I'm like, well, why didn't you guys copy that piece of it? We didn't just have to copy like the smut fairies. We could have also copied like having cute dates and like real relationships.
Development of relationships, yeah.
But yeah, so I don't like feel any kind of way about people hating on it because I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah. Even when you remember when we reread ACOTAR because you hadn't read it, that was the first time I had read the first one again, and I thought it wasn't that bad. Like I was
people
like,
are always like, you have to push through book one. I'm like, book one was fun. Like,
I loved book one when I first read it. I haven't reread it, but I was like obsessed. I'm like, oh my god, and like told my friends about it. And then I read the second one. I was like, oh my god.
I mean, when we focus more on the plot in book 3, it kind of falls apart a little bit.
Yeah, I did not. I got rid of book 3, and I'm never gonna reread it.
Did you really?
The plot doesn't make sense. My dad is leading an army. What? But he's isn't he like a random man from a cabin in the woods?
Yeah, that's definitely out of character. Remember, I was telling you like when they do things like this that is completely out of character, and you're like, that character would never do that. Like, that is definitely what with her dad. Like, he's literally couldn't save her and didn't feed them for years, and all of a sudden he's like, let me go find an army. Like,
I'm here to save the day.
Yes.
Now that
but again. It's still fun because you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. That's so funny. What do you have one, Roger?
I mean, the one that always comes to mind for this is Anita Blake, because I remember back in the day when it was first coming out, and like outside of your complaints about the writing style, there was people who got really upset because it's books. I don't even remember. I mean, it's the books that sound like smut, that are smut, like Cerulean Sins and like Incubus Dreams. There are like a handful of them. In the middle, or I guess in the earlier part of the series now, because we're up to book 30, but like
Chris.
Or 20, I don't know, whatever, a lot that like kind of jump the shark and go very weird smut times. But I'm like, well, if you kept reading, it unjumps the shark and goes back to what you liked.
Yeah.
So you don't have the right opinion if you're hating of it. You just had to keep reading. But they're also really long smut books. They're like 700 or 800 pages, so it's kind of a lot. But like the smut is for a reason, because she gets a magical lusty power. So I'm like, well, she could.
Is that the one I just tried reading? Or no, I just tried reading the Mary Gentry.
No, the fairy one is always weird smut. And I told you it was weird smut.
I know you did. You're not wrong. Oh God, it was so funny. I cackled out loud with the seal.
No, Anita Blake is the one where she's like a vampire executioner who's like
Yeah. Where
on
I
the call
DNF'd
for
the
the police.
second book, right? I think
Yeah,
I
something
read
like
the
that.
first one and I DNF'd the second
Because you
one.
felt like the writing style was too clipped or something, but you're like, well, it makes sense because
Yeah,
it's like
like that
murder mystery, and that's kind of how
detective
that genre
noir.
is.
Yeah, I just wasn't in the mood. That's a good one. That's a good one.
But it unjumps the shark, I swear.
Like, I swear, just come back. Okay, a book or series everyone thinks is really powerful, but you didn't connect with. Friggin' Assassin's Apprentice, that one. Because I read that first book and I was like, sure, I guess. And then I never continued because I didn't find it that impactful. And I was like, okay. So I think that's got to be it. What's that series? What's that trilogy called?
That one is called the Farseer trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Farseer. Yep. I didn't. I think I gave the first book 3 or 3.25 maybe, or I don't know. I thought it was
I read
fine.
the second series, the ship one, Mad Ship.
Live
What's
Ship
the name of
Traders.
that one? Yeah. I read the first and the second book in that trilogy, and I still have yet to read the last one. But I really enjoyed it. It's just that now I'm like, I forgot everything. I'm gonna have to reread it.
Oh Lord. What's one for you then?
What did I put for this?
I don't know.
Oh, you came prepared.
I did, because sometimes, like, I've noticed that sometimes I'll do live shows and I don't prepare, and I'm like,
I meant to
twiddling
prepare
my
that I
What are
didn't,
books?
so I'm just flying by the seat of my pants.
Yeah. I don't think any of you guys read this. I bought it when we were just on the trip. I bought The Husbands. Remember, Shoshana?
Oh yeah.
Bought The Husband. I forget who the author is. Anyway, supposedly, like, I had seen a lot of videos of people talking about how this was like great, and it's like the premise is that this woman comes home one day and all of a sudden there's some guy coming out of her attic and he's like, "Oh, I'm your husband," and she's never
Oh,
had a
I've heard
husband.
about that one where it's
Yeah,
like
and then
weird, timey-wimey, and she has multiple husbands or
yeah,
whatever.
like, so every time one of the husbands goes in the attic, she gets a different husband when they come back down. So like she literally cycles through. Can I spoil? I'm sorry. Do you guys want to read this? Otherwise, I won't
I'm
spoil.
not going to.
I
Spoilers
don't.
for anybody watching
Yes,
for the
please.
husbands.
Spoilers. So basically, nothing happens. Literally, you're reading this whole book, right? And then I'm like, I keep reading because I'm like, something has to fucking happen. Like, you're reading this whole book, and she's like cycling through husbands, like, and and I guess there's like some sort of message there about like dating apps or something. You know how like you literally like, but it's just like nothing actually happens to her. Like she just keeps cycling through husbands, and then like
And then
some parts are like they're like funny where like, you know, she wants to get rid of her husband, so she literally like drugs him and sends him back up to the attic, like, yeah, and it's like that part was kind of funny, but I'm like, and then at the end she just burns the freaking attic down because like she's not gonna stop cycling through husbands, and I'm like, what did I just read? Like, why does everyone love this so much? But yeah.
Because I heard some people talk about it saying that like they thought it was like meaningful experience because it's like how different her life was based on different choices she could have
Yes.
made with different people or something like that.
Yeah, but it doesn't, like, I wish it was like more introspective. Like she doesn't take that and then say
it.
like, yeah, and like think like maybe you know, maybe there's some things I can work on, and like it is one of those books that are like just weird, and then you kind of just go through this journey with her, but it's not very like powerful. Like the question saying it's just, I guess people find it fun, you know, it's just weird. But again, someone's gonna watch this video and be like, "Ugh, she just didn't
You
get
didn't get it.
Well, I also like that those are like the least spoilery spoilers ever.
Well, it's because nothing happens, right? Like that's the
Because you're
thing.
like, you guys don't care about spoilers.
plot.
Do you guys like, were there spoilers in there?
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's because nothing happens, and I tell you the ending. Like she burns down the freaking closet, the attic. I mean, like, and that's it.
The end.
The end. And I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna have to go trade that in for another book.
I think I know now what yours is going to be for this.
I mean, this is 100% Realm of the Elderlings as a
Yeah.
whole. It feels like the people who love it are that girl from Mean Girls who shows up at the assembly and is just like, I have so many feelings. Like, that's the person who loves this series. If you just want to feel sad and you want to feel feelings, then sure. But if you want to feel feelings for like a reason, I don't think it does that very well because I feel like it just doubles down on making things like as traumatic and kind of grotesque as possible. And I
For
think,
the
sure,
sake of being traumatic and
maybe
grotesque.
you could try to read into it of like the world sucks, but I'm like, okay, but like that's not really what she's going for because you're supposed to be like enjoying being on this lifelong journey with these characters, but then how it ends, I was like,
Yeah.
I read 16 books for that.
You read
You should've
all of
quit.
it and you didn't like it?
No, I liked one of the
Hated the
trilogies in
ending.
the middle.
I thought you liked it, Roger.
I liked the Tawny Man trilogy.
Okay.
Like really liked it.
Yeah.
But then
Did
the
you
rest
not
of them
like
you felt
the
lukewarm about, and then the ending you like effing hated.
Farseer was mid. The ending of
Uh-huh.
Farseer is ridiculous
Okay.
because she also does weird sex things like Erickson sometimes. Where I'm like, why did we do that? Like, what was the point of that? Live Ship Traders was good until book 3 because then we start leaning into some nonsense homophobic tropes.
Oh,
Then
no,
we
that's the
have
one I didn't read. Damn it.
good luck with that.
Damn
Because then
it.
we're also in the viewpoint of somebody who commits sexual assault and how amazing
Yeah, I
it felt.
remember
So
that guy.
enjoy that.
Mhm.
Tawny Man
like,
is
that's
peak because there's hunting cats and you get to hear the cats. They're like these really sassy, snarky kitties. And there's actually like full stories within the books themselves, or there's an actual beginning, middle, and end, and not just Hobbs' usual of like fixing the plot in the last book, kind of, and some epigraph. Dragon Keepers or whatever, Rainwild Chronicles is fine. It's pretty mid, like whatever. And then Fitz and the Fool, the last trilogy, is book 1 is pretty solid. Book 2 is boring. Book 3 just made me mad because like
I can't believe you pushed through all of
it
it.
just
I
felt like
know.
all of a sudden we were getting all this information that's supposed to be like so cool and in hindsight, and that part was fine. But then the very ending is just, it's not, I don't understand why people find it so emotionally impactful. I'm like, why?
Like you're like hate reading at this
Because
point,
it's just
Roger.
sad.
Yeah.
It's
It's
just
just like
grotesquely
traumatic for
sad.
the sake of being
And then
traumatic.
it gets so gross because then it also starts having descriptions of things in the body and like real nasty. And I'm like, you didn't even need to go there. Like that was so unnecessarily just like, let's add some like
Let's
maggots to this.
nasty.
Like,
Cherry on top.
but then people
You're
are like,
really
I sobbed the
making me-
whole book. I'm like, why? Like, it just
You're
feels like
making
she is
me
one of those
very
authors
happy.
that intentionally emotionally manipulates you to make you feel sad. And I don't mind that if it's for a reason. If we're kind of doing something with it, but if the point is just to feel sad, I don't want to just feel sad.
Yeah.
I have enough of my own trauma, my own things going on in life. The world is literally
I can
like
feel
burning.
sad all on my own, thank you.
Yeah, I don't need to read 16 books of depression. Thank you.
Just everything so terrible.
Life.
Oh Lord. Yeah.
And it's not even funny because at least in First Law, where that is like the thesis that everything sucks, people suck, things don't change, at least there's this cynical humor that like is there. There's not. This is just like, let's be as sad as possible and have all of the assault, all of the abuse, everything that we could possibly have, and just like add more. Oh, this isn't sad enough? Let's have somebody else get assaulted. Cool.
Making me very, very happy with my decision to not continue.
That middle, the Tawny Man trilogy is so good, but everything else.
Maybe someday I'll try to just read that.
But you need to read the other ones to read that one,
Not
right?
really. She knows who Fitz is.
That's all you need to know.
Okay.
Is who
That's
Fitz
all
is.
you need to know?
Cool.
Okay.
And like that first book is like a complete story. So even if you just read the book 1 of the Tawny Man and didn't continue the trilogy, that has a full arc in and of itself that is satisfactorily concluded. You can just go on a fun little quest to find the prince with some hunting cats.
Sounds fun to me.
That are kind of
Sounds
snarky.
fun to me. Love hunting cats.
Well, they're so cool. They literally like sit on the saddle of the horses and they like have them go like jump and catch birds and stuff.
Aw, how cute. I want a little hunting kitty. Not that I go hunting, but
I know.
All right, a character you don't get the hype for. I don't know who's a character that gets hype. I don't any
Fitz.
of the yeah, any of the what are their names? Azrael and what's his face?
Cassian
and what's
How
his
dare
face?
you?
And
I don't get it. I'm like
How dare
they all
you?
seem the same. The Illyrians. I'm like it's the same person. I
They're all some
even
hunky
if
men with wings
yeah, they're hunky dudes with wings
that are
that
like
fight.
racially
And
ambiguous.
yeah, very
That's true. That part is definitely true.
so even as I read the book, I was like, I can never remember like which one has which personality because they're basically the same
They don't really
anyway.
have personality. They're just
Yeah,
there.
and everyone's like, my book
They're just like
boyfriend. I'm like,
stoic, quiet, hot men in the corner.
they're just
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
They're just there.
maybe them,
Oh my
but
god.
I don't
That
know
hurt
who
me.
else. I'm so sorry. I'm so
Anyways,
sorry.
that's okay. I'm gonna say, it's funny that you talk about Sarah J. Maas. I'm gonna say Bryce Quinlan. I don't get why everyone
Okay,
loves her because
Oh,
I
in the
don't get it.
first book, she's
Oh,
great.
police.
In the first
Police.
book, she's great.
You know
In the
what?
second
She's a
book,
character of Selena and Feyre put together
she's
and
a
like
better version
mashed.
of them. That's
Well,
what I
no,
think.
that's what I'm
if they were
saying.
also fun, because
She's
at
not
least Bryce is
unique.
fun doing some drugs in the club.
Ugh,
She's having a good.
no.
She's living
See,
her best life, being who she really wants to be,
I think she
owning her
just like tried too
sexuality.
hard to be like, look at this cool girl. Like, let's just make her
Look at
so cool.
this girl.
And that's who Bryce is.
Oh,
Uh,
too funny.
anyway, Roger, what do you got?
I think any character from Red Rising, whether you want to go
Oh, I didn't
Darrow
read
or
that.
Sev, whatever his name is, the dude who wears the wolf cloak that people
Yeah,
are like all into,
Severo, right?
something like that. It's
Is that his name?
Sev
Severo.
something.
I think it's
People are
Severo.
like obsessed with him, and I'm like, okay, but he's like this weird, quirky, murdering character who pops in and out, and I'm like, but you barely even know him because we don't really explore
Yeah,
characters that much in Red Rising. It's very
yeah,
bombastic, actiony, which is fine, but I'm like, why do we love these characters?
yeah.
They're
I feel
okay.
like another one I have is Hilo from the Greenbone Saga. I like Hilo, but like people are like obsessed with Hilo, and I'm like, he's kind of a piece of crap.
Joshana's like, he's just okay.
Yeah, he's fine. There's other characters that I like a lot more, but people like go crazy for Hilo and like book boyfriend. I just don't feel that way about characters
The
usually.
book
though.
boyfriend thing is always a little weird to me when they're like, it
Mhm.
makes me feral, and I'm like,
Like, calm down.
you need help
Jesus.
or you need a personal massager? Like, I don't know what to tell you.
That's funny.
That's so funny. But yeah, I like Hilo, but like I'm not obsessed like a lot of people.
Or I mean, Kaladin would be my second choice. Like, people ride or die for Kaladin all
Is
the
he
time.
the one
He's the
that's
depressing
sad
boy
boy?
from Stormlight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think I would like him
He's
either. But
fine.
sounds
Like,
mean.
I
He is
think he is
fine.
a noble character who
Mhm.
rises above the odds and is kind of the underdog character. So I understand why people would root for him, but like the level of love that some people have. And I think that's where people didn't like book 5 as much because they felt like it wasn't as much about his journey anymore. And I'm like, but he wasn't that interesting. He was just
Like
very
his
much,
journey sucked.
he was like constantly open for sad boy hours, which is like, if that's your vibe.
Yeah, that's a big reason that I'm like always hesitant to try Stormlight.
If
'cause I'm
Elle
like,
ever
I know
watches
I'm
this,
not
she's
gonna
gonna be
like
like
good.
unfriending me. She's like, how dare you
No.
slander
Don't let her
Kaladin,
watch
'cause
this
he's like
video.
her favorite.
I know. I just
I read it and I
she's the
thought
one
it
that
was
has
very
told
good.
me. She's told me that she doesn't think I'll like him. She's like, I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't
You'll
think
feel like it's repetitive, which is, but that's
Yeah.
where it's like, if you are somebody who experiences depression, it is kind of repetitive, right? Like, I understand that that is the mental health journey,
Yeah.
but
Mhm.
it's not that fun to read, but it's also not that fun to live. So I get it, but like, it does get repetitive
Yeah,
sometimes,
right.
especially when the book's like 1,200 pages, and you're like,
Mhm.
oh God, I thought we were having a good day. Can we go back to having a good day? No, okay.
Go back to that. That's too funny.
Oh gosh, what's the next one?
Next one we have a book or series everyone wants an adaptation for, but you don't. I don't know.
I'm gonna say I said Akatar because not because I don't want it, because I don't want it
It'll be good.
badly done.
Yeah,
Like I
it'll
want
be
You don't want the
good.
CW version? You don't want it to be like
no, I
Shadowhunters?
don't want to see no, I don't want
Yeah.
Shadowhunters version. I want like
But it's gonna have to
proper
be kind of like that, right? Because I feel like the joke about CW shows is that everybody's just randomly hot, even though they're not good at anything. They're just
Yeah.
hot actors,
Yeah.
and that's
I know, but I
100%
want
gonna
it
be
to actually
Akatar.
like the magic and stuff, like the wings, all that. I want it to look
Cool.
So would
well
you want it
done.
animated or would you want it live action?
No, like live action, but I want like the budget of like
An
of what is
HBO.
it? Yeah, like HBO. If they wanted to adapt that, like okay, but I feel
They're
like
they ain't gonna
they
do
wouldn't. So it's like
that.
that's why I'm like, no, it's fine. Just leave it in book form.
Yeah, I used to think Throne of Glass, and there were murmurs that it is
Yeah, for
going to be
Avatar too.
adapted, but I don't
Yeah.
think that's still a thing. I don't know. But yeah, I'm like, I don't think it'd be that good. It would be bad. It would be corny and like,
Yeah.
very CW. And like even a bad version of CW,
Yeah.
you know?
See, I wouldn't mind if like Netflix adapted it either, because they can do like well done like sci-fi
But they
adaptations
also
or
can do poorly
but
done.
they can also do poorly. So like I need the right
The Witcher
budget for
is
this.
fine. People who hate on it's fine. I mean, the
I
books
like
aren't
it.
amazing
I thought it was
either.
really well done. Yeah.
It'll be
I
interesting to
like
see
it
what
too.
happens because they changed Geralt, right? Because Henry
Yeah.
Cavill's
Yeah.
out and whatever his name is in that
Liam
Hemsworth
I
brother.
guess.
Hemsworth. Yeah,
We
I'm like, yeah, I'm trying to figure out like what they're gonna do with that, but we'll see. I think it's fine, but I only read like the first two short story books. I didn't go on with the series, so I don't
What's
have
one
too
that
much
you have,
attachment.
Robin?
I'm kind of always down for an adaptation, but I'm also getting kind of over that almost everything is some adapted version of something. We need like some more original stories. We need to stop just remaking. We need to stop just
Video
adapting
games,
whatever
books.
book. Just like
Yeah.
make something that was specifically this is the medium that story was meant to be told in. Like let's do
Mhm.
something new and
Yeah.
interesting because it feels like everything is an adaptation. Like
Yeah,
even
that's true.
recently, Ingrid, you were talking about Silo, which is an adaptation of some random
It
book
is,
series or like
but it's good, Roger.
yeah, but I don't have Apple TV and I don't care enough to pay for it to watch
That's
that
true.
show. I'm not
No, but
sci-fi
it's
enough.
actually a pretty good sci-fi
David
show.
Becker.
But it's not sci-fi like in the sense that there's like crazy things happening. It's more like dystopian sci-fi.
But it just feels like the low-hanging fruit. Everything is an adaptation. The Last of Us is an adapted video game.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
have Witcher. We have Expand. Like everything is some adaptation of some book or video. Like
Yeah.
make
Yeah,
something new.
that's true. I just thought of one that I would like, and an
Ooh.
animated of Monstrous would be
That would be cool.
freaking sick, man. Oh my god, it's so good. It's so good.
I
Anyway,
only
all
read
right.
like the first one.
Last one. A book or series you think people have bias toward and don't really love or hate as much as they claim. I mean, we've been talking about it, and this is sacrilege to so many people probably watching, but I think kind of Robin Hobb in general. I think it's one of those things, the hype of like, it's amazing. It's like one of the fantasy greats, and it's so incredible. And it's not that I think people are lying and like, I actually didn't like it, but I'm going to say I loved it. But I think there's like that bias of like, I must like it because everyone else likes it and says how great it is. And like, if I don't hate it, then I must love it. You know, like almost like your brain like tricking you into liking it more than you actually do. Because that happens. Like I've experienced that with like hype one way or the other. And like initially when I finish something, I'm like, yeah, totally. It's so great.
Because that kind of happened to you with Red Rising, right?
Yeah, when I first initially read that, I'm like, yeah, I totally really liked it. And then I tried the second book and almost immediately DNF'd. And like with time passing, I was like, I don't think I liked that first book as much as I thought I did. Like, and I wasn't lying at the time, but the hype, I got caught up in it. And so I feel like the whole realm of the Elderlings thing.
But
And I just think that because everything you've told me and Elle has told me, I'm like, there can't be that many people who like it this much.
I think people are also incapable sometimes of recognizing when something's like hitting their nostalgia vibes and they're not necessarily being as critical because for whatever reason. And they're not always like aware of it. And they're like, it's the best thing ever. And you're like, is it? Are you sure?
Yeah, I just like for how like problematic so much of it is.
I'm still shocked that nobody else has ever talked about Realm of the Elderlings the way that I have. Where I'm like, okay, but like we literally are excusing somebody who's an assaulter because he was abused as a child. And then not only that, we're doubling down on it because he was abused by a man sexually. And so that made him kind of like a bisexual abuser where he's also going to abuse male children. I'm like, this is... Get out! Get out!
You're like, this is not okay, people.
Yeah. So yeah, the fact that like not that many people talk about it like that, I'm like, there's got to be some like bias here of like everyone considers it great, and like I said, I don't think people are lying, and like people have different experiences, different perceptions, reading things, obviously. But like the love that it gets versus
it's those girls. I'm telling you, it's that girl from Mean Girls. I just have a lot of feelings. The people that just want to feel that.
People just like to feel their sad
feelings.
People who just like to feel intense emotion.
Maybe could be.
And they don't care if it's positive or negative, as long as it's an intense emotion that's enough for them.
Yeah.
If you're that
I
kind of
will-
person, Realm of the Elderlings.
Yeah.
It will make you feel
True.
things one way
That's
or the
true.
other, mainly the other.
I thought of this question more in the like hate side because sometimes I'll see people talking about books like a whole ass series and
Well,
like
this is like
they
Twilight
hated.
would be also a perfect example of
Yeah.
this, where it's like it's just popular to hate on it.
Yes, and I'm like, there's no way you read like 6 books and you hate all of them. Like, you can dislike it, but I feel like even the books that you hate, Roger, right? You can still see the side where like you're like,
Well, there's
okay, I can see
usually
where.
parts of it that I like.
Yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah.
I don't
Because
think
even
you could.
Malazan is pretty mid to me. I don't like
Yeah.
hate it
You don't
viscerally.
hate it, right? Like that's the thing, because I don't think you could literally read something
Oh,
that you
I
hate.
probably could.
Yeah, maybe
You could, because
you.
you're a crazy person.
I read When
Yeah.
the Moon Hatched, and I hated that. I read Captive Prince, and that made me very upset.
Yeah, you're
Oh, I didn't read
such
that.
you're like a completionist to a fault.
Yeah.
It makes me really good
Have
at
you-
hunting for trophies in video games, though, because I'm persistent.
Because you will not quit.
Have you
Feel-
like? Do you never DNF, Roger? Ever?
I mean, I DNF'd the entire subgenre of domestic thrillers because I got tired of following people who all suck.
That doesn't count.
But that was
It
after I
doesn't count,
finished the
yeah.
book. I finished the book and I was like, I don't want to read anything
Yeah,
else.
that's just you saying I don't like this genre anymore. That's not
Yeah.
DNFing anything. You've never
Yeah.
DNF'd anything.
Oh my God, Roger.
Yeah, no, because I think I've always gone back and finished it. I think even things that I like put down for now, I think I've always ended up
Oh,
circling
wow.
back.
Could never be me.
Yeah, me neither. I literally, I'm like,
Oh no, I
I'm
did.
not
I
gonna read
DNF'd Trials of Ashmount.
Hmm?
Oh, there you go.
It's
The
like
one
a
book.
self-pub grim dark fantasy where it was just like grotesque, where like we're literally having people yeet babies off the balcony and you hear their bodies hit the cobblestones
Oh,
below,
no.
and like some other girl who's kidnapped and is like about to be assaulted, and then they feed her a stew and tell her, oh, this stew is made out of your mom that we murdered and like assaulted in front of your dad,
Oh my God.
and now
You-
you're eating
you-
her body. That one I was
Yeah.
like, I'm out. So
Yeah.
take that. It has to be that level.
It takes something like that for you.
For him
Whereas
to do
I'll be
that.
like, oh, that piece of dialogue was corny. Bye.
Because I read like a third of that book, so I'm not even really spoiling anything because I didn't get far enough to spoil it. Because after a certain point, I'm like, wait, so she's eating her mom, but her mom had to be assaulted before they killed her and butchered her for meat, and she was
course.
assaulted in front of the dad.
Oh my God.
So then the dad's watching the daughter eat the mom.
What is this, Roger? What are you reading?
He didn't. He DNF'd.
I DNF'd.
That's so crazy.
And you also DNF'd a whole genre, huh?
Well, I mean, domestic thrillers,
But
that's
count.
like their MO, right? Everybody sucks, and you kind of just watch sucky people do sucky
Yeah.
things to each other, and that's
Yeah.
part of the fun of it. I just don't like that.
You just don't like it. Yeah. I can see that.
What was your
Sometimes I just want to
answer?
read about sucky people.
That's fine. And like they do horrible things to each other. Like I read The Last Mrs. Parrish or whatever, and that one was okay.
I didn't read that one.
And then it was something else. There was some other one that I was like, okay, I'm kind of over this.
Mm-hmm.
What was yours? What was your answer, Ingrid, for this?
Akatar also. I think people don't
Oh.
hate it as much as they claim to. Like before it blew up on TikTok, because now I feel like a lot of people love it again.
Yeah, it like
But I
got a
feel like
resurgence.
yes, but I don't know if you guys. I'm sure you remember. Like before things blew up on TikTok, it was like so cool to hate on Sarah J. Maas.
Yeah.
Like
for
so cool to post like, oh my God, Akatar sucks. I'm like, you don't hate it as much as you claim to. I'm sorry.
sure. People trying to jump on the train, the hate
Yeah.
train.
The hate train for sure.
What's yours, Roger?
I don't know. I guess I'd have to say like Malazan. Because I hear
Yeah.
people, and when they talk about it, they talk about this amazing character work.
Mhm.
And like it's such a bird's eye view of characters, and the really only glimpses that you get of how they're feeling or their motivations for anything is like snippets of like kind of cryptic dialogue. So I'm like, well, but you don't really get to like know them that well. You don't really
Yeah.
know why they're doing anything. You don't really know their history that much. But there's some people that are like, these characters are so amazing, and I felt so emotional. I'm like,
Where?
how? Like that's like meeting somebody on the street and they say 2 sentences to you, and then something bad happens to them, and you're like emotionally devastated by it. I understand being like, oh
My
wow, that's
good
like a
friend.
sad experience, and like obviously it's
Mhm.
horrible when horrible things happen. But I'm also just like, but you don't know them.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
could
I'm
see
always
that.
just like that, and then like we spend so much time philosophizing. You can't love that. You can't love 10,000 pages of the same argument, and then people who say that the series is about his compassion are liars. Like,
They're liars.
You're lying.
They're saying that it's about
Fighting
compassion
word.
because in book 9 or 10, there's like a 20-page conversation about compassion between the characters. But I'm like, but the themes themselves, where? I need the receipts. I've read the whole series. Where's the compassion?
I wish
Is it
I
when
had
Walla Pung
the.
is like hitting on Shirk's hoo-ha anemone? Like, that's not compassion.
Hoo-ha,
I wish I
anemone.
had the
Wow.
strength to force myself to read things so that I could
Me
have
too.
my solid opinion, but I simply can't. Because I feel I have the feeling based on what I have heard of Malazan. I agree with you that I feel like there's the bias of like it's so lofty and
Yeah, that people give it
intelligent,
this like
so people
nod of
go
like,
into it thinking it is, and then like almost like just fall prey to the hype a little bit.
not where
Of,
the bias that people have when they feel like people are smart, right? When somebody talks
Yeah.
assertively or they talk in big sentences
Yeah.
that are complex in structure, they automatically are like,
like
oh,
they like it,
they
so I
give
must
more,
be
or even the book
smart.
itself, right? Because the author
Yeah.
is a fairly intelligent individual, whether or not you agree with his views. He's kind of annoying sometimes because he's a little bit too much of his own booty with his own loftiness. But like, I feel like people just give weight to that. They're like, oh, well, it's like confusing and like
So it's
cerebral, therefore it's amazing. And I'm like, but you
Mhm.
didn't understand half of it.
That's how I kind of feel about Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. Did you guys read that? It's like a
I've
sci-fi.
seen the movie.
I have not.
Okay, like the
Never.
whole time I was reading that book, I'm like, I don't know what's going on here. Like, maybe I'm not smart enough to freaking read this book. Like, and then people are like, this is so amazing. I'm like, did you really understand?
That's where I like double down on the Latin. It's like I have a whole PhD. Like I am used to having to parse through dense material to figure out what it's trying to say or how I
Yeah.
can hypothesize it for my own and stuff. Like I'm
Yeah.
used to having to do that. Like that's what I do for a living.
Mhm.
So I'm like, okay, but this book literally doesn't give you information until 6 books
Mhm.
later, and then it's not given to you in some like interesting nuance. It's
Yeah.
literally an info dump. And they'll be like, oh, this material that you met in book 1 called Oda Terrell that like mutes magic, we're not going to explain what it is or how it works until 7 books from now. And you're like,
Oh.
okay, but that would have been useful information to understand what the hell is
Mhm.
happening. Like there was no reason for you to withhold that information besides being like,
Mm.
ooh,
Ooh,
it's so
deeply
cerebral and
important.
lofty. You had to try to understand, and then I just didn't give you the information till later. It's like, okay, come on.
Could not be me. You have
neither.
so much inner strength. Or just completionist to a fault. Like it's, I love it.
But at least
Oh,
I have
God.
solid opinions, and nobody can say that I have to keep reading.
Yeah.
Except for Dresden. Dresden
No,
is,
you
I think, the
gotta-
one series that I haven't continued on yet. I read the first 4 books, and it's fine. I'd rather read Anita Blake, but like, it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, you have
Doesn't.
the solid background to
I have read all 10
voice
books.
your opinions.
Or
Whereas I'm like,
16.
I've seen excerpts and I think it's trash. No one takes my opinion seriously.
You're like, I read one paragraph.
Yeah.
I was out. I read his essay comment in somebody's Facebook or YouTube
Yeah.
video, and that was enough.
I didn't like it. Oh Lord. I wonder how many people are going to disagree with us vehemently on these.
I think
Yeah,
Robin Hobb is the
probably.
one that I've gotten the most pushback for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People
Yeah,
hold
she's
that
like
one
a
really
fave.
deeply in their hearts.
Yeah.
And they get like personally offended when you don't like it. So I've even had people that I like people like Evie, who are really sweet and lovely, but they're like, I can't handle people saying bad things about that series. It's that series for a lot of people.
Yeah, where it's like it's a personal
I
attack.
don't
People
know.
like it.
I guess I just don't love anything like to that extent. Like,
Well, I
I
just understand that
definitely
everything has
do.
faults.
Do
So like
you?
I mean, like City of Girls, like if people hate that and like think it's trash and this and that, like I feel like I'm like I can't listen. Like, it
Really?
makes me
for me, it
upset.
depends on how they say it. If it's like a valid criticism or something about pacing or characterization, it's
Yeah,
like fine. I
something
could
like
see where you
that,
could feel that way.
Yeah.
I obviously disagree. But then there's other times where people like when people are hating on Empire of the Vampire and they're like, it's wildly homophobic and this and the other. I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah, there's things that like that I'm like,
Mhm.
if you're talking about the things that like spoke to my soul
Yeah.
and then you're like trashing it, I'm like, I feel personally attacked. I can't.
Yeah.
But like I just won't.
Because like you
listen
weren't mad
or
at me because
watch
I
those
wasn't
videos
obsessed
or-
with City of Girls. I liked it well enough, but you're
Yeah.
also like, yeah, I mean, it also probably wouldn't speak to your soul because you're not like a woman growing up in this country, and so
Yeah.
maybe having the experience of
Yeah.
being a woman growing up wouldn't
Yeah,
resonate
it's
as much
different.
with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me because I'm like, yeah, that's fine. But
Yeah, 'cause,
like
like,
I did
even, like-
reading 1-star reviews of it, and I was like, I'm getting upset. I'm getting
No, the personal attack is that Shoshana always DNFs everything that I love.
Ooh,
That is
a personal attack.
That is a
It is.
personal attack.
How do you still
No,
talk to her?
we like similar things. Also, I've read
All of
stuff
my
that you like.
favorite nostalgia reads, she
Okay,
DNF.
that's because
Oh,
they're
wow.
nostalgia reads that are like very early.
And she
20 odd.
didn't even continue far enough into Mary Gentry to get to the cool part where she actually gets her magic back and goes to the courts and all of the
There
actual
was a-
intrigue starts. She got two thrown off by the seal man.
There was sex where a guy turned into a seal and flopped off the bed.
That was
Oh,
after he
no.
was done. He wasn't like
Oh,
in
at least
her
he
and
was
turning
done.
into a
Okay,
seal.
I was gonna say, was that during?
All of
As
that,
he
that does happen later in
turned into a
Anita Blake
seal.
with some werewolves. They do turn while things are.
Oh Lord! Oh man!
What's the first
And then
one
they
called?
huddled in the seal skin like it's a corpse of a seal.
Series. The fairy one is Kiss of Shadows. The vampire one is
funny.
Guilty Pleasures.
I think I tried to read Guilty Pleasures like a long time ago, but I might try it again, Roger.
It's good, but I will say that Anita Blake, you don't start to see the original Big Bad or the first love interest until book 3.
Okay.
Because in book 3, you get this crazy like Neanderthal vampire who's been around for forever, and he can like literally cause earthquakes with his power. So he's known as the Earth Mover. He's like shows up, and then you start getting introduced to the Vampire Council, and that's always fun shenanigans. And Shoshana would like that, but she's like, no, the writing style is too brief.
Sorry, I can't do it. Can't do it.
Shoshana like loves to DNF. I think I'm in between you guys.
We
where,
DNF'd
like,
almost half as many books as she read last year.
Almost, but not
Like 40%. 40%.
I know,
You know
when
what's
I
funny,
like
though?
stuff and when I don't, and I don't read fast enough.
Joshana, I will agree with Roger that sometimes you get to like the end and you're like, okay, I'm done. You just push
Wasn't there a series that you DNF'd at the end besides Mistborn? I feel like there was one other one that you got to like book 3 of the trilogy, like 75% in, and you'd quit.
Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini
That's the one
Taylor.
we're gonna read.
We're gonna read it without her, not her.
I read the first 2, and then I read 70% of the third one, and then I was like,
just finish.
At that point, I was just like,
I didn't care. I didn't care about what was happening, and it was like pages of these two characters like pining after each other, looking.
Just
finish.
Who
cares?
And I was like, I don't. It's like
crap.
50 pages.
Yeah, I don't care enough.
Funny.
I was like, this isn't going to enrich my life to finish this. I'm already not having.
Yes, it will, because then you'll know what happened, and you can have an informed opinion, and the dude bros can't attack you because you actually read it.
She's like, I'm just gonna Google
they'll attack you anyway.
Dude bros don't read that series anyway.
That's true.
The dude bros aren't reading Laini Taylor.
Well, plus they don't care because it doesn't matter if you actually read the book or not.
Yeah, if my opinion's wrong, my opinion's wrong. Yeah, I don't care.
Shut up, Joshana. You're just a woman.
Yeah, I know. You don't know anything. No, I don't read fast enough to like.
Yes, you do. You read like 70 books last year.
Yeah, but like
I would have
read 70 if I had tried pushing through those 34.
Yes, you would have.
Well, the thing is that I will say, like Joshana, when I'm really disliking a book and I try to push through, sometimes that can put me in a slump. So
yeah, you're just like,
support your DNFing, because then you're like, what is reading? Why do I even read? What's the point?
Like,
you know?
Why am I forcing myself to sit here and read?
Yeah, but Joshana doesn't get slumpy. Joshana doesn't get reading slumpy. No, you have like random times where you like are reading less, but it's not because you're like, ugh, I don't want to read. You're just like, I want to do something else.
I bet it's because I DNF so freely.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe that's what it is.
I don't get in reading slumps, and I push myself through.
That's true, but you're a little bit of a crazy person, Roger.
I've never been a completionist with anything in my life. I will quit.
He's a giver-upper.
Like if this is taking too long, I'm no longer having a fun time. I'm out. Bye.
Yeah.
I'm a committer.
Yeah, I'm not.
Right? Because when I did martial arts for like 22 years, did martial arts for 22 years, have a PhD. Alex and I are going on year 17, and it's the only relationship I've ever had. So that's where it's funny, because we've been watching Love is Blind recently, and I'm like, I can't relate to these people that are like in their 30s, and they're like, I've never been in a relationship, and I've always wanted love. And I'm like, I can't relate. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did the new season come out? I have to.
Yeah, it started yesterday.
Okay. It's one of those things that I.
That's what we did for Valentine's Day. I got Alex a burrito.
Yeah,
I got a pizza, and we sat there watching Love is Blind season 8
I had a
or whatever.
too.
Cute. I forgot it was Valentine's Day. Genuinely.
I know. Last night I was like, oh, I didn't text my friends.
I only saw it because it was on my calendar, because I was looking. I had to set up an appointment because I have an interview next week, and I was like, what? Oh.
Oh, look at that.
I know my work friends are like, what are you guys doing for Valentine's Day? I'm like, nothing. Like,
yeah,
nothing.
Yeah, Eric
I
was
feel
like,
like
"Are
it's
you
less
really
exciting when you're
okay?"
in long-term relationships. You're just like,
Yeah.
let's do something comfy.
Yeah. We're
Yeah.
going to
Watch a
dinner
movie.
tonight, but like that's
I know.
we're not
Also,
gonna
going to dinner on
celebrate.
Valentine's Day is it's chaos. It's pure
Yeah,
chaos.
it's too many
Like,
people. It's
yeah.
busy. It's too much.
Look
Nothing.
at us. We're just continuing with the unpopular opinions because now we're gonna have some people being like, Valentine's Day is the best
Yeah.
day ever.
I do. It's
Come on.
fun. It's cute.
I'm
If
like,
he's gotten me stuff in the past, and I'm like, oh, that's
yeah.
cute, thanks. But like, I don't really care that much, you know. It is what it is.
Yeah,
All right, I
yeah.
guess we should end this now before we just start yakking.
If you
We
made it
already
this
have
far,
been.
let us know one of your unpopular opinions. Let us
Yes.
know a
Which one
series
of
that
ours
you
made you
think.
the most upset too.
Let us know a series that you think people don't love or hate as much as they say they
Yeah.
do. Go and buy some adorable merch with narwhals so that we can give
Yes.
to charity next year. And we'll see you in the next
Yes.
one.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.